talk about how you can get started with biomimicry. Biomimicry as a tool and as a practice, as a way of thinking to help us design better. So my channel is all about product design, industrial design, creating things to make the user's life better. And that to me translates to having a good environment that, meets the needs of the users. And the users of this planet are not limited to humans, even though we are the dominant species on this planet. We are not the sole users, and we cannot survive if we were to be the sole users. And as we've seen over the past few decades, we are completely destroying our environment, overexploiting it, and taking all of the resources for ourselves while killing off so much of the biodiversity that it has to offer. And biomimicry to me is going to be something that we will use to get to a point where we're living sustainably on this planet in a way that we're not destroying our environment, in a way that we're not harming other animals. It's a logical way of transitioning and moving to a place where humans can live on this planet. Biomimicry and bioinspiration, in first place, they're the ability to admit that nature can be our mentor, that we can look at it to find the answers to our problems. Now, I don't want to talk to you about biomimicry as if I am a biomimicry expert. I am also learning, as you know. This channel is made so that you can learn with me. So the idea is to observe and learn from nature and then apply what we've learned to human industries. When I discovered biomimicry about a year ago, I started reading 3 books. The first one is Biomimicry, Innovation Inspired by Nature by Janine Benyus, who is basically the mother of biomimicry as we know it today. The second book is The Gecko's Foot by Peter Forbes, which is also a great read. And the last one is Can We Save the Planet by Alice Bell. So I'm going to start with biomimicry because it is also the first book that I read, and honestly it's a great way of starting all of your research around biomimicry. So if you don't know where to start, I recommend this book because she really puts you in the right mindset to start with biomimicry. So she really explains what it's about and why we're going to use this methodology. What she does is she goes and talks to actual scientists in labs and research facilities and tries to understand what the technology is and how it's going to help us and how it's going to be applied. She also talks about a lot of examples, and she brings up some of the major problems that humanity is facing today. She talks about agriculture, she talks about energy storage and use and stuff like that, and it's really the big issues that we're dealing with that are brought up in this book. It's an easy read. I highly recommend it. Some parts are quite technical, but you can just skip over them, honestly, if you're not interested in going to the deeper side of the scientific way. Next is Peter Forbes' The Gecko's Foot. It's very similar to Janine's book. It's a lot of examples per chapter of these things, these biomimicry innovations. And so he talks about, for example, the lotus leaf, which is a phenomenon that I talked about in my biomimicry intro, so check that out if you want to know more about the lotus leaf effect. He talks about the gecko's foot and talks about innovations inspired by the gecko's foot. So for example, we made gecko tape. This book has lots of simple explanations. It's very easy to read as well, and it's also something that I recommend reading. It's really great. The last book I recommend as an introduction is Can We Save the Planet by Alice Bell. Now, this is not anything to do with biomimicry, but in order to do biomimicry and to solve issues, we need to be aware of what the issues are and understand them completely. So this book is really good for that. It's a great way of understanding what the issues at hand are, why, where we're emitting so much carbon, and how we can actually tackle these issues. So it's a great way of diving into that. It's easy to read, and it's made to fit the reader's interest level. So it has different size fonts. So the bigger size fonts are the big idea, and then in the smaller size fonts you have more detail about the idea. So yeah, it's a really great book, and it gives you tools for argumentation as well, which is really great when you're trying to defend an idea, defend a design. I also highly recommend reading Sapiens, such a mind-blowing book, and it's a great way of understanding how humanity came to the way that it is today. Besides books, there's a bunch of other research that you can do. There are a few papers on biomimicry. It's not the most written about field because it's quite new, but hopefully there'll be more in the future, and for now you can already read the papers that are already put out there. There are also a bunch of documentaries, and the idea is to observe nature, right? So all these nature documentaries are going to be helpful in your quest for biomimicry. So try to absorb as much biology as you can. It's really going to be helpful because you're going to know about all these different phenomena, and you're going to find out more things about all the living beings surrounding us, and that's just great if you want to start with biomimicry. I personally watch a lot of documentaries on the website I Have No TV. There's also National Geographic, there's a bunch of stuff on Netflix, and so many things on YouTube. You're not limited in your knowledge. If not, you can go to a library and check out what they have. So these are just a few things that you can watch and read to get started with biomimicry. I also want to talk about this topic a lot more on my channel because designers today are facing these issues. We're facing the climate crisis, and we cannot be contributing to a consumer society. We have to contribute to solving the climate crisis. So I think that biomimicry is going to be a indispensable tool, and the more designers know about it, the better, and we can just start really designing for a real future. So stick around, subscribe if you want to know more about this stuff, and I will see you later.